grade 11s? We are doing maths again. This is Sishem Charlie. I'm helping you with quadratic inequalities today. All right? So, guys, we are starting. We're working with quadratic inequalities. All right? First of all, I need to give you some terminology here. All right? So, one, what does the following words or terms mean? Okay? An expression, equation, inequality. I'm giving you 2 minutes to just discuss that, and then after 2 minutes, I'm going to continue and tell you what these three mean. All right, guys, well done. Those of you who've worked it out, what an expression, equation, and inequality is. I'll just give you quick examples, okay? Now, if I give you, maybe for instance, 2x plus 7, all right? Or maybe we have 4x minus 3 over 2x squared plus 1. So this is an expression, okay? Right, we can have y equals 2x plus 7. That's just a function. That's an expression. It doesn't have an equal sign. But if I give you maybe 2x plus 7 equals to 0, so this one, it's an equation. It is equals to 0. Now we look at your inequality. We'll work through these things throughout, okay? Like from grade 8, 9, and 10, you've been doing these things, but let's just recap again. The 2x plus 7 less than 0, or 2x plus 7 greater than naught. That's an inequality. So you've got, the inequality has got an inequality sign, and then an equation has got an equals to, and your expression does not have equals to. But when you work it out, you don't have equals to 0 and so forth. All right. Now, what is a quadratic equation? Okay. With this one, I'm also going to give you a minute to just discuss among yourselves, and then give me what a quadratic equation is. Thank you, guys. Now, let's go back. What a quadratic equation is. Okay, a quadratic equation is an equation where the highest power is 2. All right? So if I give you that 2x minus 1, what's the highest power here? It's 1. All right? So, but if you've got 2x squared plus 3x plus 5 maybe, the highest power here is 2. So that is your quadratic equation. Now remember in grade 8, when you were solving linear equations, you had only the highest power was 1 and you had only one solution. So here there will be 2 solutions to the quadratic equation. And the standard form for the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. All right? And then now we're also going to look at the principles of solving quadratic equations. And for example, all right, a quadratic equation can be used by finding the factors. And then again, if you look here on this equation, you've got 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. How do you solve that? Right? So you'll have to factorize. You get 2x and then x. Now you check with the factors of 12 again, that when you are multiplying by that 2, you add or subtract should be giving you a 5 in the middle. All right? So if we try 4 here and then 3, all right? And then the sign, it's a plus and then a minus equals to naught, right? We in grade 11, we are familiar now with factorizing a quadratic. But guys, please make sure when you have factorized, you can work it out and see if it gives you back the original equation. Now, with this one that I've worked out, so you've got 2x minus 3 bracket x plus 4. Right, let's multiply out, okay? 2x by 2x, that's 2x squared, right? And then a plus 4 times 2x, that's plus 8x, right? Your middle term will be minus 3x, right? And then the last term is minus 12. So you have that 2x squared, right? Your like terms, your middle term will be 8x minus 3x, which is plus 5x minus 12, right? So now watch what we are talking about. This is an expression at that particular moment, all right? So it goes back to the original one, all right? Now, if we continue by solving this equation, we have a 2x minus 3 and an x plus 4. What does this mean, okay? You can either have the 2x minus 3 equals to 0 or the x plus 4 equals to 0, right? Now we work it out. Your 2x, it's equals to 3. Then how do you get rid of that 2 that's multiplying the x? You divide by 2 throughout. So you get x is 3 halves or x is negative 4, right? So this is how you solve your quadratic equation, which is just recap of what we did in grade 10. All right, so now if we look again here, the example of solving a quadratic using a graph. Now, when we were working it out earlier, that the 2x squared plus 5x minus 12, you factorize that to get x plus 4, and then the other factor as well. So now if you look at your graph, you've got a minus 4 there, and then here, that's your 3 divided by 2. All right, so these are your zeros of this function. So that graph, which in this case is y equals to 2x squared plus 5x minus 12, when is it equals to 0? So you're working out the x-intercepts of that graph, right? Now, what are the roots of this equation? So these are the roots of the equation, your 3 halves and also the negative 4. Right. Now, next, guys, you remember that we have ways of solving quadratic equations. That other one, the first one, we factorize, and then at some instances they will say, okay, use the quadratic formula or completing a square, right? So we will be practicing all those this year as well. But now when we come to the quadratic inequality, remember we said an inequality will be having an inequality sign. It's either a less than or a greater than, or less or equals to, or greater or equals to. Now, but then this is a quadratic inequality. It's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And we'll be looking at ways on working out how do you solve a quadratic inequality. Okay, grade 11s, there are many methods of solving a quadratic inequality, but I'll just touch on the three. When you're solving a quadratic inequality, you can either use a number line or a graph, a rough parabola graph, or the sign table, okay? Now, all of these methods, they start with solving a quadratic equation, all right? And then now, moving on, okay, right? Giving this example, guys, solve a quadratic inequality using a number line, right? First of all, we said all of these methods, you have to first solve the quadratic. It's in your mind, you are as if solving a quadratic equation. First of all, I'm going to factorize this part, okay? All right, so how do you factorize that? Okay, I've got x squared minus x minus 12. Okay, I'll have two brackets. That's x minus 4 and then x plus 3. Now, remember when you were solving, it was equals to 0. You could easily straight away go and say x minus 4 is 0 or x plus 3 is 0, and then you get your x equals to 4 or x equals to minus 3. But in this case, guys, you will have to use a number line, all right? Now, remember, we've got two solutions for this quadratic equation, or rather inequality. What are you going to be your critical values? After solving for x, you will get x equals to minus 3 and then x equals to 4. Now, with your number line, and then looking at this is your less than 0. So you'll have the critical values minus 3 and then 4. Here, I'm taking the numbers greater than 4, substituting them in this factorized format, and then any number greater than 4, substitute here, and I'm only concentrating on the sign, all right? So if I put a 5, that's going to be 5 minus 4, which is a 1, 5 plus 3, 8, 8 times 1, you get a positive answer, all right? Now, in the middle, I'm taking numbers between minus 3 and 4, and a random number, if I take a 0, right? So that will be 0 minus 4, 0 plus 3, I get minus 4 times 3, which is negative 12. And the sign of that answer, it's a minus, right? And then this side of negative 3, I take numbers less than minus 3, which, for instance, I take minus 4. I'll have minus 4, which is negative 8, minus 4 plus 1, it's negative 1. Then a negative 4 times negative 1, I get a positive 4. So the answer is a plus. And now, guys, coming back here, what does this less than mean? It's negative. It's below the x-axis, so we're looking at a minus, all right? And then your minus is in the middle, so you read off your solution. X is between minus 3 and 4, right? Guys, I'm going to give you a break, and then we move on to the question that you guys will have to solve. All right, thank you very much, guys. We are now back. We continue with your quadratic inequalities, but using a number line. Okay, you've got to solving a quadratic inequality using a number line. I am giving you this problem, guys. To work through this problem, I'm giving you only 2 minutes to work through this program, and then from there, I'm going to help you. Wonderful grade 11s. We are back. Just to recap, for your less than, we are looking at the negatives, okay? Greater than, that's positive, right? So now you are working with this problem. You've got 3x squared minus 6x minus 144, and first thing that you needed to do was to factorize. But now you checked, there's a common factor which is 3 there. I'll have to divide by 3 throughout, so that is x squared minus 2x minus 48 is greater than 0, right? And then from there, I'll have to factorize, okay? Now, how do you factorize the x squared minus 2x minus 48? You've got your x, 8, and 6. That's a minus and a plus, right? So now using a number line, guys, you're going to have, this is how your number line looks like, and then there's minus 6 and then 8. Now, please be reminded, you start with the negative numbers. So you start with smaller numbers in your number line. We'll go back to grade 3, right? So it's minus 6, minus 1, and then 8, right? So you've got, because this is not included, I'm going to have open circles, all right? And then we're taking numbers greater than 8, substitute, let's check, all right? If I take 9, I'll have a 9 minus 8, bracket 9 plus 6, and 1 by 15, which gives us a 15. What's the sign of this 15? It's a plus, all right? So I'm going to have a plus there, right? Like in the previous example, we take the numbers between minus 6 and 8. We substitute between minus 6 and 8. Let's say we take 6. If you put a 6 there, you'll have a 6 minus 8, bracket 6 plus 6, which gives us a negative 2, bracket 12, then that's minus 24. Now, guys, we are only concentrating on the sign. So the sign that we get is negative, right? Now, from negative 6 going that direction, we're taking numbers less than negative 6. So I'm going to take negative 7. So if you put negative 7, you get negative, so if you put negative 7 there, you'll get a negative number. Then if you put a negative here, you still get a negative number. So negative times negative, you get a plus. So that's where our concentration is. So now from there, guys, like we said, for greater than, we're looking at the positives, and then for less than, we're looking at the negatives. Now, we are faced with a situation here. The greater than, the plus is that side, and the plus is that side. Now, how do you write our solution? So our x should be less than negative 6, or x is greater than 8. Right. Now, let's try more examples, all right? Now, solving a quadratic inequality using a graph. This is a very interesting one whereby you are using the quadratic, these are your quadratic functions, but you are checking where is your function below the x-axis or the bar above the x-axis, all right? So now, we look at minus x squared plus 9x, right? This is a quadratic function, all right? And then this 8 is your linear function. So what we do here, we've got two graphs. There's a parabola, which is this, and then this is your straight line. Okay, now what is the less than mean? Where is the parabola below the straight line? Okay, now we check here. this is our parabola. And then from this region all the way up, it's above the straight line. But going down, it's below the straight line. Going down this way, it's below the straight line. How do you write a solution here? Okay, so you will have, this is 1, and then this is 8. Okay, how do you read it off? This, your x should be less than 1, or x is greater than 8, because from this point up, okay, the parabola is below the straight line, and then this point going below 1, it is below the straight line graph. Now, guys, for us to make this easier, okay, we know that x is less than 1 or x is greater than 8. Now, to quickly work it out, we have minus x squared plus 9x less than 8. This is the same as, we can multiply through by a negative. And now remember, grade 11s, if you multiply by a negative sign throughout, the inequality sign changes. So this will be now greater than. So you have x squared minus 9x. You take the 8 across, but when it's multiplied by that negative, you will have a plus 8, okay? Greater than naught. Now, this is x minus 8, x minus 1, greater than 0. All right, so now you can, now again, guys, draw the rough parabola sketch, okay? Now, what's interesting here, grade 11s, is that you have 1 and then 8. The graph is now a positive graph. Why is it now a positive graph? We have multiplied by a negative there, all right? So we've got a positive rough parabola. But where is it greater than, right? When it's greater than, it's going to be above your x-axis. So where is it above the x-axis? So it's all the way that side and above 8. How do you write this solution? So x is less than 1, or x is greater than 8. So you still get the same thing, but you have applied different methods. Okay, now this is the question that I'm posing to you. The solution here was x is less than 1 or x is greater than 8. So this is your question, guys. What about if we are looking at these two functions or these two graphs, minus x squared plus 9x greater than 8? How should your solution look like? Okay, right? We'll come back to that one after you have discussed. Okay, now we're solving this quadratic inequality using a graph. Okay, this is our alternative method, all right? Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm not treating these two graphs separately. I'm going to apply algebra, okay? And then from there, factorize, and we read off the graph. So that is what we have done there in the previous example. So you've got minus x squared plus 9x less than 8. So that is minus x squared plus 9x minus 8 less than 0. But this is now x squared, right? Okay. This is your graph, all right? This is minus x squared plus 9x minus 8. Where is it less than 0, all right? Where is this function less than 0? In your head, it has to always say, okay, with less than 0, it's always below the x-axis. So it's all the way here, okay? This side, right? And then also that other side. Now, but reading off from your graph, okay? What am I doing? Am I going less or greater? So if I'm going that direction, I'm from 1, then the next one is 0.5, then 0. So it means that I'm going below 1. So x is less than 1. And then coming to this side, all right? So I'm going to my graph, but what's happening here? 8, 8,5, 9. So it's increasing. So you've got x is less than 1 or x is greater than 8. So that is your solution from the graph. Okay, now I am giving you this problem, guys. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Remember what we said, okay? If you multiply by a negative, your inequality sign changes. And remember, you first have to solve the quadratic, you have to factorize. So your question now here is solving a quadratic inequality using a graph. So please at home, you given minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16 is less or equals to 0. I want you to draw a rough parabola sketch of this, and then I'm giving you 2 minutes. From there, I come back, I assist you. All right, thank you, grade 11s. Can see that quite a number of you are working, right? Now let's just check with this problem. This graph, it's a negative, okay, it's facing down. But I suggest if you're still new and you are still trying to get used to these problems, I suggest you work with positive functions. But how are you going to have this to be a positive graph? You can divide by negative 2 throughout. If you divide by negative 2 throughout, you'll get x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now, what did you say when we multiply or divide by a negative? The inequality sign changes. So it's now greater or equals to naught. Okay? Then from there, you factorize. You get x plus 4, right? And then x minus 2 is greater or equals to 0. But now, this is your graph. Now we have a rough parabola sketch. Minus 4, yo, it's a long minus. Let's take it down a bit, okay? Now, you've got negative 4 and then 2. Now, this graph is a positive graph, okay? So, you'll have that. Now, you are reading off. This is y equals to x plus 4, x plus 3. Where is this graph above the x-axis? Now you can just shade, okay? All right, so you are reading your solution of from here going down, all right? So x is less than minus 4. Or now from 2 and then above, x is greater than 2. I think, guys, we're going to take a break, and then when we come from the break, we've got more exciting problems to work on. Welcome back, guys. We are continuing with these exciting inequalities, all right? Let's move on. Okay, when we looked before the break, solving a quadratic inequality using a graph. Now, I suggested you work with the positive graphs, but those of you who have worked it straight away, the graph that you are going to get is, it looks like this, okay? With your x-intercepts minus 4 and 2, all right? And we are concentrating on the x values, okay? Now, they're saying this is less or equals to 0, right? Remember what we said, less than, okay? It's negative, all right? Your y should be negative. So it means that where is it below the x-axis? So these are your x-axis, all right? Now, your graph below the x-axis, it should be somewhere there and then also there. Now, reading off from your graph, it's negative 4. Then it's negative 4.5. So it's going down. So our x should be less than negative 4. All right? And then you're looking here, it's 2. And then next is 2.5, 3, blah, blah, blah. Then x is greater than 2. So this is your solution. All right? So guys, can you now see that there's quite a number of representations here that you can use, okay? Now, if you look at solving a quadratic inequality using table of signs, okay? Now, this is a little bit tricky, all right? So again here, I suggest you work with the positive, all right? So you've got negative x squared plus x plus 12, right? Now, I'm going to keep my unknowns to be positive, okay? I'll multiply by a negative here. Then I get x squared minus x minus 12. Now, what happens to the inequality sign? It changes. Then from there, I factorize, all right? Then you get x minus 4, x plus 3 is greater than 0, right? Now, your table, right? You will have, okay? Now, I'm going to have the x plus 3 and the x minus 4. All right. Now, what will make this 0? Okay, I'm going to have a minus 3 there. Okay, then it's negative 3. Right, if I put minus 3 here, I'm going to get a 0, right? Now, and then next, you'll have a 4, right? So, if I'm putting a 4 here, I'm going to have a 0. Substitute by 4 here, that will be 4 minus 4, that is 0. Now, what were you doing here? I'm taking numbers greater than 4 and then substitute. Now, a very interesting thing happens here. If you substitute by these numbers before zeros, it's always going to be positive, and then below 0, before 0, that's going to be negative, all right? Now, let's just check. If you keep your unknown to be positive, all right? If I take a 5, I'm going to put a 5. That's 5 plus 3. That's a plus, all right? And then between minus 3 and 4, I put a 2. 2 plus 3, that's a plus. But then if I take numbers less than minus 3, I will have, say for instance, minus 5. Minus 5 plus 3, that's negative 2. So you see you get a negative. And then with this one, you will have a plus, because if I put a 5 here, 5 minus 4, then you get a plus 1. And then below the 0, it will be negative. You check with me wherever you're watching, whether it's school or at home, because if you've got minus 3, between minus 3 and 4, take a 1, then 1 minus 4, that's a negative, right? Minus 5, you've got a minus 5 minus 4, which gives us a negative. And then from there, the one where we read of the solution is, now, to do the product, this one is going to be x plus 3, x minus 4. So if I multiply these signs, what is negative times negative? That's a plus. What is positive times negative? That's a minus. What is plus times a plus? That's a plus, right? Now from there, you're working, you want, this is greater than, so you're looking for a plus, all right? So where are my pluses? On the side. So you've got your x is less than minus 3, or x is greater than 4, all right? And most of us as students, we don't prefer the table one that much. Okay, guys, whichever one you use, at the end of the day, you'll get the same thing. All right. Now, I'm giving you this one again. You work it out. Like we said, okay, keep it positive, and then from there you do the table of signs. Giving you 2 minutes now, guys. Please, let's work minus x squared plus 3x plus 54 greater than 0. All right, guys, remember I asked you earlier, let's keep it positive. How do you make this positive? Your unknown, your a is negative. What must I do to that negative 1? I'm going to multiply through with a negative 1. So I'm going to get x squared minus 3x minus 54 is less than 0. All right, so now it's easier. I can have a rough parabola sketch from there. All right, so now we factorize. This is x and x factors of 54 that will, when we add or subtract, will give us that 3. It's 9 and 6. Just confirm with me. Minus and then a plus, right? Now, from there, right, we go to our table. Right. Now, guys, remember, we start with the one that will be less after solving for x. That's x plus 6, x minus 9, all right? It's encouraged, but even if you start with whichever one, you will still get the correct answer at the end of the day. But we're trying to give you some simpler ways, okay? Now, x plus 6 equals to naught. I'm going to get a negative 6. Then if you take it down to this line, substitute a negative 6 here, you get a 0, right? Now, then the x minus 9 equals to 0, you will get 9, positive 9, right? So this 9 does not look like a 9, okay? So you've got a 9 there. Now, substitute it here, you get a 0, right? Now, those of us who are using the table of signs, if you keep your unknown to be positive, all the signs above or after the 0, they're always going to be positive. But before the 0, they are negative. You can check that at home. Now remember, you'll say 9 greater than 9, you substitute here, you will get a plus, a plus, a plus. And below a 0, then you get a minus, a minus, a minus. Okay? Then you do the product of signs, that's going to be a plus, a minus, and a plus. Now, guys, again, you come back here, right? Less than, it's a minus, okay? Right? We're looking for a minus. If I find my minus, it's in the middle, right? So I'm reading off my solution. X is between minus 6 and 9, okay? Now, we check that is our solution. And those of us who are using a rough parabola sketch, okay? This is your parabola sketch. You get a minus 6 and then a 9. Remember, grade 11s, these are your x-axis. So less than, where is it below the x-axis? It should be between the two, right? So from negative 6 all the way up to 9, right? So your solution is x is less than 9, okay, because we're going that direction towards negative 6 or greater than minus 6, okay? Right. Now, one of the interesting problems when working with inequalities, guys, you might be given a parabola and a straight line, and you are now asked to work out where is your f of x greater or equals to g of x. What does that mean, okay? Where is f of x above the g of x, okay? Now, these are the two graphs, but what I suggest is you work out, okay, let's say now, for instance, you draw your graph, right? Your rough graph, I'm just drawing out of my head, and then the straight line. Then from there, you check where is it greater than, where is the straight line greater than. So making this example, okay, where is the parabola above the straight line? If you can't work that one out, okay? Now, if you are struggling with using the parabola and the straight line, you can do it algebraically, and then from there you write off your solution. Now, for instance, you've got your x squared. This is your x squared plus 3x plus 6 is greater or equals to 4x plus 36, right? Then you work it out. This will be your x squared minus x minus 30 is greater or equals to 0. Now, so after working out, you then factorize. This will be greater or equals to 0. Then x, okay? And then 6 and 5 minus and plus. Then now, so it means that your solution will be minus 5 and then 6 above, which is a plus, greater, and then this. So it should be x is less than minus 5, or x is greater than 6. But now it's less or equals to, or greater or equals to, right? So you do that. But I want you guys, when we meet the next time, to work it out, draw these two graphs, and then you read off where is your parabola above your straight line. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. And we are hoping that you are working, and then we wish you all the luck, and you'll be moving to grade 12 soon. Peace.